July 27th regular commission meeting. We will start this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome. First item this evening is the consent agenda. Consider the minutes of the July 13th meeting and the agenda review minutes of the July 22nd meeting, as well as an appointment to the Community Corrections Advisory Board for Gloria Arellano.
I move that we accept the consent agenda.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I would ask for a item of new business to be added to the agenda for the introduction of Salem United Methodist Church's new pastor, Willie Banza.
Motion to add it to the current agenda.
Thank you.
I second that.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Welcome.
It's really a joy for me to be here today and just experiencing all this, and it's really a joy. It's really a joy, and sometimes I always watch it, in Washington D.C. and but I can see it here live here, in Newton. So it's a very good thing. Thank you very much for just giving me this opportunity to introduce myself to you. How many minutes do you give me? I don't want to change this.
Just a couple minutes and just
this
about
meeting
yourself
into a worship service. So
I appreciate that.
Yes, I'm Willie Banza. I'm originally from the Congo Democratic Republic. Really, if you look at the map of Africa, just the heart of Africa, that's where I come from. And I've been here in the United States for almost 10 years now, and went to Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas, where I graduated before coming to the Great Plains Conference of the United Methodist Church, and I was appointed in Seneca, Oneida, and Bern in Nemaha County, and that's where I served for 6 years before coming here in Newton this year. So I am married and father of a large village of 6 children. So
Ages?
yes, five girls and 1 boy. Probably you can already figure out why the list was too long, because we're looking for a boy. So we had the first girl, second a girl, third a girl, fourth a girl. So and then the 5th was a boy, and said we can still have a boy, another boy. So it was a girl again. So we said, okay, I think that's all right, And I'm already feeling at home. I'm here for almost now a month. I've been going around the city, and I visited so many places, and I'm really impressed by the warmth welcome of Newtonians, because I'm also one of the Newtonians. That's what I was told. You're not a Newtonian, so it's really a very good thing. And the kids are really excited, and we have enrolled them. 2 are in high school, 1 in middle school, and 1 in elementary. So they're really excited, and we are good to go. Thank you very much. And if you see me out there, it's me. And sometimes, the kids, they always walk. Yesterday, we're walking around the city here. You always meet them, and these are the kids. So thank you very much.
Well, welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, the next item of business is the presentation of Yard of the Year Award to Kurtis and Shelly Riffel, 523 West 9th. Suzanne?
Yes, Commissioners, this is always a fun thing to do at the commission meeting. For several years, we have solicited annual nominations for Residential Yard of the Year, and we put an advertisement in the Kansan. We received those at the library, the water billing office, and in the engineering office and on the city website. This year, we received 11 different property nominations. Then staff narrowed down to 7 properties, and those went through the full ranking process. Those properties are ranked based on criteria for water conservation plantings, curb appeal, turf health, good use of perennials, good use of annuals, tree health, use of focal points, and then overall impression. And after we reviewed all these properties, and there was fierce competition this year, 523 West 9th Street was selected as the winner. The property owners have owned the property since 1991, Kurtis and Shelly Riffel. This property ranked especially high in curb appeal, good use of perennials, and use of focal points. Kurtis and Shelly are creating a rustic vibe with balls of wire and a 1934 Ford pickup truck. They combined their love of country and antique automobiles for one of the focal points. The truck used is the remainder of a parts truck used to restore another truck to be on the road soon. Shelly told our staff that she tries to incorporate plants that don't need a lot of maintenance or water, but it's definitely a team effort when picking out plants and locating them in the yard. Staff said when they were talking to them about their yard, it really sounds like a labor of love, and they enjoy trying new things in their space. So we really want to thank them for all the effort they have done in sharing their yard with our community. And as you know, the winner of the Yard of the Year property gets the coveted Yard of the Year sign to put in their yard. And we have a gift certificate to Stutzman's Greenhouse for them. So if they come forward, the mayor would like to shake your hand. We take your picture, and you can take your gift certificate with you. And we can either bring you the sign, or you can take it with you today, whichever you choose. Come on up here and we'll get a picture.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Open my camera. Right. Thank you.
You want another holding the sign in front of you? Sure.
That'd be great.
You gotta have a great one.
There you go.
There we go. Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Nice yard.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and just guess you didn't buy that pickup brand new, did you?
Out on a limb.
was my grandparents' original. That's where we've been bringing things from their farm. So it's like 80-plus years old. So it was bought brand new. But
Cool.
That's awesome. That is cool. Yeah.
Cool.
Wow.
Good job.
Cool cat. What's the cat's name?
Yeah.
Chevy?
Sure.
I'm not about bringing it. We'd probably never be invited back again.
Or more.
Congratulations
It
again.
looks nice. Very pretty.
The next item of business tonight is to receive the second quarter financial report. Donna?
Well, this time of year, this is probably the most boring report you'll receive. We're pretty well on course to be a normal year so far, which is very nice. The first slide I have for you is our overall property tax revenue. This takes in all 5 funds: general, airport, library, special liability, and the bonded interest fund. As you can see, we're at 93%, which is about par with our past years. We get our disbursements in January, March, June, and then all the leftover in September. So we're doing very well. And you can see we're over the budget usually at the year end. And part of that reason is because we always include a 5% delinquency rate. And so we kind of take that down, but we haven't been getting, they've been better than that, about 3%. So you'll see in this year's budget, 2022, I'm going to change that a little bit and go to 3%. So we have a little bit more correction there. The next slide is just our expenditures year-to-date, June 30th, which is half the year. Everything should be at 50% basically in your budget. And this is overall expenditures. And you can see we're at 41% of our expenditure budget, which is very good. Our salaries and benefits totaled about 39%, which you know that's very good. A lot of times that gets up to 60% in some organizations. The next highest expense would be contractual services, and that's your utilities, your insurance, all that fun stuff that we have to have that keeps going up and up. Everything else just kind of falls into place. The next slide is our other general fund revenues, what we get. Licenses and permits, you can see we're a little bit above last year. Charges for services were a little bit lower. Fines are our municipal court fines, and you can tell we're up a little bit better than we were last year due to the pandemic. We were down quite a bit. And then the fourth item is use of money, which is our interest earned. And you can see it doesn't even register on there. We only have about 2,200 this year. So it is, we've gotten a lot of money out of that, our interest in past years, so this does hurt us pretty bad. Other revenues coming in about the same, and that's usually our Harvey County ambulance funds is what that is. But this is the bright side, our sales tax. We're coming in at 60%. This time, usually we're at 50% of our budget. We're about $183,000 over last year and $191,000 over 2019. Additional 1% sales tax is coming in at 59%. Combined, these two taxes were $467,000 over what we were in 2020. So that is good news. This makes up for our interest being down. The next slide is our franchise tax. This is another, we took a little beating in this last year just because of the pandemic. It did kind of come back up at the end. Right now, we're at 48% of our budget, and that's pretty close to what we should be. We're about $65,000 more this year than we were last year. And then you'll see our interest. In 2019, we were 135% over budget, and we always put in, try to kind of gauge what we're going to get. 2019 was a really good year at almost $600,000. That was an awesome year. The 2020, the $199,000 we got there was all in the first 3 months. And then after that, it just bottomed out. So as you can see, this year it's 2,000 so far. Our general fund expenditures are pretty much always the same this time of year. And so we're at 50% of the year, so we're doing well. We're under budget there. And last year, 2020, you can tell we really held the line on all of our expenses. We just put the brakes on. Did a good job. And then you get where you can see each department and how they're doing, how we're coming in this year. So far, we're ahead of the game. Expenses are 46% total. You can see that there, and how each department is coming in. If you have any questions, please stop me. The next one I'll talk about is the airport fund. Airport fuel sales are better than they were last year. They're up about almost $40,000. They're still down from 2019, but that's kind of how it's trending. Airport leases are up, mostly due to the work done on bringing these leases up to date. As we've mentioned in the past, we're 51,000 higher than we were in 2020 and 94,000 higher than we were in 2019. So we're doing very well on airport leases. Our expenditures, you can see, are right in line with where we're supposed to be this time of year. Next slide is just an overall view, so you can see what we've spent on each of the different item categories. You'll see transfer out is about 60%, and what that is our debt service payments to the bonded interest fund. So we always get those out of there, so it's going to be higher than it should be. The next fund is the wastewater revenue fund. Right now, we're at 49% of our budget, which is right on par. The wastewater plant upgrade fee is also just where it's supposed to be right now. We are down from where we were in 2019, but we were up a little bit from last year, so that's good. Our expenses, once again, very boring, straight across as usual. And then here is a little more detailed if you're interested in the different categories. The next is water revenue. And you can see we are 45%, right where we usually are. We usually make not quite of our budget, so we have come down the last few years, but we're right where we should be with the $4.7 million. And the expenses are right in the 40%, so they're down a little bit, which is always good. And then the detailed version. I'm trying to think of something exciting that's happened on here, but we're just kind of plodding along.
No news is good.
At least it's nothing bad has happened either. We're where we're supposed to be. Sanitation, our revenue is at 50%. We're right where it was the last couple of years. Expenditures are at 46%. And this is up just a little bit. We did have to hire a new man in 2020, remember? That raised up the expenses a little bit more than usual for the recycling. And then here is the categories. And last year, we changed our dumpster rates a little bit. So that's why you're seeing a little bit more in the rental fees.
For roll-off
Yeah,
dumps.
those are the
roll-off
large
dumpsters.
commercial roll-off dumpsters.
Right.
Yeah, so that's why that is up a little bit higher there, so that's helping. The next is the golf course revenue. And we're really doing well in golf course. I know Chris Tui is very pleased with how they're going out there. 60% of budget right now. Usually we're at about 48 or 50. So this is looking very good. Golf course expenses are up just a little higher than usual, but when you have that many people playing, your expenses are going to be a little bit higher. But it's right on where it should be for this time of year. And then again, here's the categories for you to look at. And when you get home and study a little bit more, you can always call and ask me if you have any questions, why something's funny. Meridian Center. Meridian Center is about 25% of our budget. They are still struggling a little bit with the pandemic and those concerns that people have about gathering. But I think Michael's doing a very good job. We have some good people hired out there, and it's starting to pick up. A lot of it, he says, right now is little things happening, little events, but hopefully the bigger ones will come toward the end of the year. And we're excited that we did bring this in-house now. We can control things better, we can make it our own, and we're just having, this is a real good thing that the commission did, was to bring that in-house. You see our expenditures, he is keeping them down, staying within his revenue. And then the itemized version. Now, these are just the main funds. We have lots of little ones going through here. If you ever have any questions, be sure to ask me, but we're doing well.
Thank you, Donna. Anything? Commissioners?
I just was curious on the golf cart rentals. Well, I'll make sure I understand that. 105.52% of the budget. That just caught my eye.
Just because he only put in 49% of the budget, $49,000, and he's already at 52.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
revenue,
I saw
it's more revenue
More
than he
what
was
you had
anticipating,
anticipated,
yes.
Okay.
And that has to do with the banner comeback golf is having nationwide, mostly due to the pandemic. And
Yeah, and this is just half the year for them.
He's doing great.
hopefully it holds out and the weather cooperates.
Yes.
That'd be great.
That's
Thank you, Donna. The next item this evening is to consider an ordinance amending the city code relating to the discharge of firearms. Chris?
Yeah, and I can take that. The commission will recall they saw this issue earlier this year considering an amendment to the UPOC, the Uniform Public Offense Code, having to do with the discharge of firearms in the city. So as you recall, the default rules, you can't recklessly discharge a firearm in the city, but there are certain exceptions carved out in the ordinance pursuant to law enforcement, lawful defense, shooting range, et cetera. The city commission made a decision to make the allowance for the taking of an animal with the state permit. And as we kind of looked at this further, anything for migratory birds, which was one of the items that kind of brought this to your attention, that requires a federal permit. So we've amended the ordinance accordingly. I think it follows the same principle that you decided earlier, but it does acknowledge that federal principle. I would stand for any questions. I have a copy of the application if anyone's interested. Obviously, you do have to go through a pretty considerable permit to do that. But this does allow a person to do it in the city so long as they've acquired that permit. Stand for any questions. We have an ordinance number if you're agreeable. And there was a citizen that was interested, Cole. I don't know if he just want to listen. He may have comments later, but we've had a discussion on this item.
Okay. What's the ordinance number?
The ordinance number is 5049-21.
I move we approve ordinance dash 5049-21.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that ordinance motion carries.
Thank you,
Alrighty.
Chris. Thank you.
All right, the next item this evening is to consider a grant agreement and supporting documents with Kansas Department of Commerce for Small Cities Community Development Block Grant, CDBG.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. Excellent news. The City of Newton was awarded $150,000 through the CDBG grant program for CV3 funding. This will go through to businesses that kept employees, low to moderate income employees through the pandemic. This is step one. This agreement between the City of Newton and the Kansas Department of Commerce. So there'll be other steps as we go along, more hoops to jump through. But again, step one, we would look, if with approval tonight, we would look to open up the application process for a period of about 3 weeks, looking at August 20th being the final day at 5 p.m. on Friday. So we'll take them as they come in. Big thing is getting the word out, letting all the businesses know. We'll do our social media justice, marketing. We'll do mailers, so word of mouth. I stand for any questions.
Any questions?
I read it. I didn't have any questions.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
So what do you need on that, Kelly? Just a motion to direct staff to execute the agreement?
That would be good.
I so move.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
Thank you.
Make it so.
Thank you, Zach.
Next item this evening is Cottonwood Crossing Phase 2. Kelly and Zach.
Yes. Good evening, Commissioners. Zach and I may tag team this. I'll start off, and he can hop in and fill in some of the blanks I missed. At your last meeting, you may recall you approved a letter of intent with Building Kansas LLC. The principal is Mr. Derek Lee and his business partner, Mr. Al Votes, here in Newton. Mr. Votes owns the property you see on the screen in front of you. It is going to be Phase 2 of Cottonwood Crossing. It is, of course, immediately adjacent to the existing Cottonwood Crossing development. You'll see just on the north that is on your screen here. In that letter of intent, we also agreed that in accordance with our housing strategic plan, because this is such a high need for our community, that we would be willing to partner with our developers to apply for grants, tax credits, and other programs. So before you this evening, in your packet, there are 2 different resolutions. The first one is to consider a resolution that will start the Rural Housing Incentive District process. They're called an RHID or a RID. And remember, that will create a district. The district will be what you see on your screen. This is a multi-month process. We will adopt this resolution this evening, provide it to the Secretary of Commerce, and Secretary Tolan, Lieutenant Governor Tolan also, will review that. And if we meet the parameters of the program, he will authorize with us to proceed. We will then come back to you with a full development plan, development agreement that will have the ROI analysis, that will talk about the value of every unit, the property tax recoup, the timeframes, the revenues that will go to the state and the county from this build out. And then all of that will go to a public hearing, not only for you, but then to Harvey County and to the school district as our other partners as taxing entities. Once that goes through, that is then presented back to Secretary Toland and Bob North, who we've worked with for a number of years at Commerce. They will review, and assuming we meet the parameters, they will approve it. And all of that has to happen with several public notice timelines. So this process likely won't be complete until November or December, but it must be complete before they can break ground. So that's the first resolution. You have questions about that process? I know we've been through it a number of times now. But I'm happy to answer questions. If no questions on that, excuse me, go ahead, sir.
I was just going to ask for the resolution number.
Oh, yep.
1250.
Yeah, the resolution number is G1250.
I move to pass G1250.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And then I would ask for a secondary action, a second resolution. This is going to authorize us to partner with Building Kansas LLC, the same development group, to apply to Kansas Housing Resource Corporation, KHRC, for moderate income housing grant funds, MIH funds, so a lot of acronyms there. The maximum award is usually between $400,000 and $450,000. That process will open for applications usually in late August, early September. We will apply, and then we will find out towards the end of the year or sometimes early calendar year if they are awarded. And again, this is another one where we are simply the applicant and the pass-through to the developer. In that development agreement with KHRC and the city, we will pass through funds at certain increments, such as once infrastructure is complete, they would receive a portion of the funds. Once they get occupancy on a certain number of the buildings, they might receive another portion of those funds. Again, that will come back to you for approval as well.
Resolution number?
Resolution number is G1251.
I move that we adopt G1251 to participate in the MIH grant program.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much. It's a huge project for our community. Very exciting to see it happening.
The next item on this evening's agenda is to consider the approval of repairs to ceiling cracks in the parlor at the Workington House. Suzanne.
Commissioners, the Workington House, as you know, is owned by the city of Newton, and it is operated by the Workington House Association, and there's a board that oversees the operations of the house. The board is planning to hire Sutherland Builders to repair cracks on the ceiling in the parlor room and the cove section. And following the repair, the contractor will place fiber paper on the ceiling to match the rest of the house. The association is going to pay 100% of the costs for this repair, and they would like city staff to manage the job and oversee the construction. We would run the project through the city, so we could take care of all of the sales tax exemptions and all of the paperwork, and the contract would be with the city, and then we will pay the contractor. It just makes it much easier to run it through our normal process here. And the cost of the project is $8,630, and we would just ask that the commission would approve the project as presented and approve staff assisting with it.
Motion to approve the project is presented.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None.
Thank you. And the House will be holding a fundraiser to help pay for these improvements on September 12th. From 4 to 6 p.m., there will be a food truck, I believe it's Taco Mike's, and the Flannelbacks will be playing, probably on the front porch if the weather holds true. So please put it on your calendars if you would like to attend, and if at that time you would like to provide a donation to the House, I know the House would welcome that.
Thank you.
And for the record, may I also add that, remember, that property is an individually listed historic property at the National Register, and it's also in the McKinley District. And this was reviewed and approved by the administrative process on the Historic Preservation Commission per our protocol.
Awesome. Next item this evening is to consider a letter of intent with an economic prospect related to the purchase of real property. Chris.
And I can present that. I do have one introduction. Judd Treeman, who's here in the audience, he's an attorney with Stinson, and he represents the other side of the letter of intent. So I'll give you an overview. He'll stand for any questions that you have. Staff will as well. This was a late addition to the agenda. We're still finalizing some of the details after the deadline. So if anyone in the audience would like a copy, I've printed off a few. We have them here. but I'll give you just kind of a general. This letter of intent, it pertains to the sale of approximately 230 acres of real property located on Southwest 12th and Hillside. This is property that the city controls through an option to purchase that we acquired from Tyndall. The letter of intent calls for a purchase price of $8,000 per acre, which equates to roughly $1.8 million. Essentially, an LOI is a good faith settlement or statement to negotiate going forward. So the LOI sets forth that the parties will exchange a PSA, a purchase sales agreement for the property. We'll receive a draft of that in 2 weeks, and then we'll have a 30-day period to, in good faith, finalize that. Once finalized, the purchaser, who I should mention is GAF, they would have their due diligence period where they'd be able to inspect the property. Essentially, tonight, just approving this LOI is just kind of that next step in those negotiations. This would, of course, come back before the City Commission for a PSA for your review. But this version is supported by staff. I would stand for any questions. I know that Judd would also stand for any questions that you might have on this. Kelly might.
And also our economic development team, Beth Shelton with Harvey County EDC, and we have representatives from our partnership at Greater Wichita Partnership, GWP here, who also helped facilitate getting connected with this industrial client. And Zach, of course, is our rockstar development director. So thank you all to them for their hard work on this.
Beth, would you like to kind of share with the public, just to bring everybody up to speed of the history of where we started back in 2010 or 2011 and up to where we are today? Just to refresh people's memories.
Yes. So with this project, or do you want the history of?
Of that land.
Okay,
and
yeah.
Now
yeah.
where we are today,
So
yes.
prior to me being with economic development, this land was purchased by Tyndall Corporation, and they had full intention of moving forward with the project. They were making the bases for wind turbine, or for the wind towers. And as that whole industry changed, their project sort of died. Through that, they've held on to this land. All of their other locations were landlocked. They have been, I would say, very good partners to allow us to show the land. Suzanne's had a relationship with them since she was part of that original deal. And so they've always been open to letting us submit the site, even though we didn't have control over it. When this project came to us, we did submit the site, as I have done probably 20 other times since I've been the ED director. And when it came back and they were coming to visit it, we didn't have anything formal in place. We just had conversations that Suzanne had with Tyndall Corp. And so we moved to go ahead and get something formally in writing so that we could move forward with this client. And the agreement before, there was a large incentive when that all was negotiated. And so this is very, very positive for the city of Newton, the way that this is going to be structured with this LOI and then subsequently the PSA. So it is a positive thing, and we just look forward to learning more as we get into the next phases with capital investment and job creation and working forward with the state, the Department of Commerce, and Stinson on getting that development to occur.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Beth.
If you have any other questions for staff at this time or for our representatives from GAF?
I don't, but I would make a motion that we approve this LOI with GAF Materials. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries.
Thank you.
Look forward to building a great relationship. We don't have anybody signed up for the citizens forum, so we'll go around the horn. Sir?
Nothing tonight.
No, just thank you to the staff for everything that you do for us. Everything is so well prepared, right there, and full of explanation when we need it. So thank you. Thank you to Beth and Zach. Just appreciate all that you are doing for us and for Newton. Thank you.
Thank you. Donna? Suzanne?
Commissioners, I placed at your seat a copy of the city engineer's report for projects that are ongoing. These are typically capital projects or special assessment projects. There's multiple things that are in the works, whether they're in a design phase or construction phase. And just wanted you to see the status of the multiple projects that you have approved as we have been moving forward. If you have questions on those, I'd be happy to answer those as you have time to peruse this information.
Still on schedule for the pool?
I believe so.
Thank you.
I will have a better report tomorrow, but it's looking good.
Awesome. Sir?
No, sir.
Kelly?
No, just thank you very much, and we appreciate the opportunity to grow our community.
Commissioner Craig?
Well, having been on the Economic Development Council, I do want to say how valuable our relationship is with the Greater Wichita Partnership. It's real, the help and assistance that we get from them. And, you know, we may not come up with all of our leads ourselves. I mean, a lot of them do come from the Greater Wichita Partnership. And I just can't say enough about our relationship with them and the value that that provides to the citizens of Newton. So,
Thank you. I'd like to say, you know, lift up our first responders, everyone. We had a great prayer vigil for our first responders and those lives that were lost in and around our community this last few weeks and everything. Please take a moment to take care of your friends, neighbors, and pets. It's hot out there, folks. Heat exhaustion, heat stroke is real. It's quick. Don't fall victim to that. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you very much.